The sponsor of today's interview is College Soccer's Next. College Soccer's Next is the #1 college soccer recruiting service focused on helping aspiring prospective student athletes achieve their dreams of playing college soccer. Some of the services that they're able to provide, I got to read them off the list, include a college soccer mentor who's gone through the recruiting process firsthand, a strength and conditioning coach, a sports nutrition coach, a professional highlight video editor, as well as a personal evaluation and strategic proven plan of action, as well as much, much more to make your dreams of playing college soccer turn into a reality. Book your free consultation call today down in the description at collegesoccersnext.com. Take your first steps at earning your college soccer scholarship today. Enjoy the episode, folks. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another interview on the Kickaball podcast. I'm your host for today, Danny Lang, and today we have a very special guest, co-midfielder of the year over at Memphis, spent 2 years at Temple, this past year at Memphis, a lot of accolades in the AAC for this dude, the co-midfielder of the year, again, as I was saying, Lleyton Imparato. How you doing today, my man?
I'm great. How are you?
Hanging around. I mean, a nice, finally off. I imagine you're on break now, or as much of a break that this can be.
Yes, I am currently on break. I go back to school the third. So
Okay. So yeah, I have a little bit long. I'm just a regular dude, so I have a little bit longer, but I'm finally getting back into just all right, we're home. We get to take an extra breath before the semester. I know it's a little bit of a trickier, quicker transition for you, but yeah, no, just feeling great though, and glad I get to talk with you today.
yeah, me too. Thank you for having me on as well.
Of course. So Leighton, tell me a little bit about what this off season has looked like. I mean, since the year has ended, you're never really, free from the privilege of pressure of being this Division I soccer player. What does this off season work look like for you?
It's nonstop. It is. It's constantly go, go, go. Right when I got home, you kind of set up your own calendar, what you need to do to get ready, because even when you come back, you've got to be fit. You've got to be on top of your game because even the spring season sets you up for the fall season. And in college soccer, you're never safe. You're always fighting. So what I do is I'll wake up probably 8:30. I woke up this morning. I'll go on a 3 to 3.5 mile run. And then I'll have a good meal. Usually I do all meats, no carbs. Kind of lose the fat and gain more muscle with that. And then usually around 12 to 2 in that time period, I will hit the gym, whether it's upper body, sometimes legs, just to feel good. And it's about an hour workout. And then usually towards the end of the half of the day, because there's so much time left, I'll find some time to get some training in. I really like to practice free kicks. I think being a free kick specialist is one of the big parts of my game. And so the more I can master that, the better. But yeah, it's just any way to get touches every day and be around the ball that's all you can do in the off season because if you're constantly training, you're never out of it and you're always ready. So
Right. And
yeah.
it's such a huge part. Sometimes, I mean, it's the balance, I think, between just being able to keep yourself effective but not overworking your own body. Has that ever been something that has become a difficulty or some sort of gray line for you?
Yeah, I would say as you get older, you're gonna have to, stretch more. You gotta be more ready. You can't just jump into stuff. Usually when I do my runs, I'll start slow. I'll start probably a 7, 8 minute mile pace. Then you increasingly get faster as you go on. But yeah, usually I'll work into it. I'll stretch a little bit, obviously, and then I'll get going and get into the hard stuff. But yeah, you never want to jump into things, or else that's how you get hurt. That's how you get. So that's what I've learned.
And
But
so now I've seen sometimes too, and I guess this is a broader conversation just about physical fitness, but this definitely seems like something that you've put a lot of thought and effort into meticulously understanding, okay, well, I want to work out between 12 and 2 after I go on my run earlier in the morning. Have that time in between, how much time you're supposed to have in between, how long your workout is supposed to last, how long the train, all of these little things, they definitely seem like it's not something that's just thrown together. Where did this mindset come from, or where have these guidelines come from that, allow you to stay this conditioned in top shape?
I would say it's motivation. There's hundreds of thousands of kids out there, all probably doing the same thing. I think it's a matter of who wants it the most. I mean, I could use Ronaldo as a definition. He's laid out the blueprint for everybody. He's the hardest working man in the world, and you just can look from him. He's top two. I think Messi's the best, but you look at him and he's given us this blueprint, and if you replicate it, you can become, the best player you can be. So I see that, and I'm thinking if I'm running for 1 hour today, I've ran one more hour than anybody else has. So it's like that motivation kind of drives me. And so I see it as a chance to be better than someone else. And so, and it's important. And as much as you can stay ahead of the game and other people, that'll help you for the future. And that's what I'm always constantly thinking is how can I be better for the future? And how can I put myself to get to the next level? So that's all I'm ever thinking about.
Very nice. And that's certainly very attractive. I imagine with coaches as they see this work, and I imagine the other teammates that you've seen though too. I mean, you've been one of the yeah. Actually just being an upperclassman that comes with some sort of leadership expectation from multiple angles, and that definitely I imagine that definitely helps with these younger guys that are coming into this Memphis program. Okay, well, how do we do this? How do we go about just every day? Because there's a certain formation within those first few weeks of freshmen first coming in or new transfers coming into the program, and you've certainly been there, but also just understanding, okay, what's the right way to go about things.
Yeah, so even when I was a freshman and even a sophomore, I had people to look up to, at Temple. And, I see the guys who go on and do good things. They've done the same thing, and so it kind of inspires me, obviously, if I want to take it to the next level, that's what you got to do. And then now being an older class, obviously it's fun for me to kind of help, the underclassmen and try to raise their game because, I've got a little brother, Miles Imparato. He was at Indiana, he's at Duquesne now, but it's even like influential to him. If he sees me doing all this as an older brother, then he's going to want to do the same thing, and it almost it's like a domino effect for America, as if everyone who's looking up to an older person, they're going to want to do the same thing. And I think it just makes, American soccer better. So,
Right.
yeah.
So I know you mentioned a little bit about your brother. So firstly, that's actually a great insight that I really appreciate just you being able to give me on that regard. But you mentioned your little brother Miles, and so I gotta imagine this is a soccer family that you've grown up in your entire life. Would you mind just telling me a little bit about your upbringing in soccer and what's it looked like?
Yeah, so we are a major soccer family. I've got a little brother too, Rylan. He's just getting into it. But
Right.
we've been playing ever since I can remember. I mean, I think I was a late kind of start, 7 years old. I was born in Arizona. We played for what's now Phoenix Rising. I think it was the Arizona Blackhawks, and then we
Right.
moved to
Yeah.
Southern California when I was 9, in 2000. What was that? 2012 maybe, I think. And we all played DA down there when that was a thing. I played for Albion SC and then the Nomads. And so, that was amazing. That's when like I really started to flourish. I was, hitting puberty, all that stuff. And, I was really becoming the player I was. And what's funny is that I was like this player who was like not known and then kind of became a little more known in SoCal. And towards 2019, 2020, the COVID hit. And that's when like everybody in the 2003 age group kind of was getting their college offers. And and at that time, the DA shut down. So at that time, I was, getting recruited. I had Oregon State, I had Colgate, Elon, Lehigh, all these guys. And then the COVID hit, and all of a sudden, DA is done. Like the coaches, there's a couple coaches that got let go, and I was just stuck in this hole. So I'm thinking, like, what am I gonna do? It was just crazy. And so, I'll come back to that towards the end of this kind of story. But my family took the chance because nobody was playing in Southern California. It was really bad. It was just a mess. And so, we took the initiative. We moved to Florida. And so I was like, I'm in my senior year. Now I don't have a college. I was like, what am I gonna do? And so, my dad worked really hard when we got Italian passports. And so that allowed me to go to Europe, which I actually did took a gap year and played in Spain, a little town in Madrid called Pinto. I was able to kind of train with CD Leganés, which is the La Liga team. And then for that was about for 6 months. And so that's kind of a gap in my soccer history that I don't really discuss about because I,
Right.
I was still trying to, get back into the soccer world. It was just
Yeah.
everything just flushed down the toilet. And so that's when, Temple had reached out, and I think the coach at the time, Brian Rowland, great coach, he saw something in me. He believed in me, and it wasn't much. I didn't get much. It was just a chance. It was a chance to kind of show myself in the soccer world and in the college world. And so, I had a great freshman year there. I believe I started in 7 games and played in about 14 of the 16. And so, I was loving it because I was like, this is America. I'm back, like I'm going to get my name out there. Like I'm going to come back and show everyone who I am. And so, and then my sophomore year, he got released. He's at Maryland, I believe, but then Brian Green came in, and I had a good sophomore year, and that was a year where Temple was getting a little better. Obviously we're coming off not a great record, but then a few good games. I would say the Syracuse game, that was a big game, man. That changed my trajectory a lot, I believe. So, um, yeah, and then after that, there were a few things. Obviously, the transfer portal was there, so I was like, let's take a chance. And then I entered, and then Memphis, I believe it was Tony McManus, shot me an email, and I was like, this is a tournament team. This is like a big dog team. They were, coming off of, I think, a top 27 team in 2022 or 3 season, I
Right.
believe.
Yeah.
And so, they made the tournament. They had a lot of great players. Lineker, Dos Santos was there. Great player. So I knew like this is the team. I got to do it. It was the same conference. So I was like, I took the chance to go there. And now like I'm seeing like I'm rising up now. Like I'm getting
Right.
like, yeah, exactly. So I had a great season, I believe, individually at Memphis. And, the team did great. And I love the guys, and the coaching staff was awesome. And, I had enough, they believed in me enough to play me, where I'm a true 10. And so I got some accolades. I got goals, assists, and all that stuff. And so, you know, knowing me and always being hungry, I wanted more. And so, nothing on like anybody else, but then I made the decision to transfer again, and so that's where I come full circle. And now I've just hit the portal recently. It was a super quick thing, and I've now come full circle from the start of the story to where I was first getting recruited. And now I'll be at Oregon State in this next spring and fall. So it's going to be good. And so my goal is just to keep going as high as I can. So yeah.
And that kind of a move, it's I imagine it's got to be difficult just on your end because there's so many people that help you out through this journey, but it ultimately comes down to you understanding, look, these are the kinds of moves that need to be made to be able to make that reach up, to be playing in an area that again will be able to utilize your ability of being that true 10 like you've talked about, that main position that you've got and your free kick ability, your left foot that'll just become so valuable. I mean, we've seen these attacking midfielders at Oregon State really have success, at least, getting with, not only just their tournament runs they've been able to make, but the guys they've been able to send off to the next level. And you'll surely be right up there in that company, I imagine.
I hope so. Yeah. So yeah, that'll be good.
So now I want to go back into some parts of this journey though too. You mentioned the Syracuse game at Temple, and for those of us who maybe don't remember the game from 22, Temple versus Syracuse, I believe this was a game in Syracuse, I believe.
This was, yes.
Right. So tell me about that game. What made this so impactful about, you know, where you've come to it being, look, this has been a changing point in my college career.
Well, it was I was playing a little out of position at Temple, and I just wanted to show the best that I could. And
Right.
so this game was interesting because I got some chance in the middle, and I was like, okay, this is like my time to shine. And
Mm.
I believe it was 9 minutes left in the first half, and our team turned the ball over. I see our eight receive it, and so I decided to make a run. He slips me in, boom, first time finished. Kind of chipped the goalie a little bit, and that was just an unreal feeling. And I knew like we were up on Syracuse 1-0, the reigning national champs. I was
Right.
like, this is like the juice that I needed. I was like, and I gotta thank my team too for making the play happen as well. But and then after that, I would say there was in the second half probably 5 minutes to go, and I had a few good through balls, and then they actually tied it. And so I'm like crushed. I'm like, no, so and then there was 2 minutes remaining and we came down the line, hit a banger and won 2-1. So that was the probably the craziest game of my career, I would say, besides I'd say a few at Memphis. So it was just unreal feeling. We got on the NCAA. We were the team of the week. It was
Right.
amazing. So
And you mentioned a little bit about having played this defensive minded position really up until this point, as of getting some of these more offensive minded opportunities in the middle of the pitch. Tell me
Mhm.
about, for those of us who maybe don't realize how difficult and how jarring of a position that ends up being. I mean, you'd go in as midfielder either way
Mhm.
on whatever, NCAA or top drawer soccer. You would playing those two different defensive minded or attacking minded, you'd still go in as just a midfielder. But
Mhm.
how different are those positions really, and how difficult was it to make that adjustment?
It It's interesting because I was so trained down in Cal South under, Bernat Franquisa. He runs this thing called APFC, Albert Puch Football Concept. So I've been so trained to play a more defensive regista kind of style where it's a playmaking
Okay.
six. So I was able to like my key playing style, and I think that's why Oregon State's going to be so great for me. And what they understand about me is they're very Spanish coded or Catalan Barcelona coded. That's how I should put it.
Yes.
So
Right.
I was so trained to break lines, slide tackle, defend, get behind the ball, and kind of do all the gist if I wanted to be a midfielder, because that's what you're going to have to do at the next level. And so, with all this training, I was able to take it to Temple where I was more of a playmaking 6/8. And so that allowed me as a freshman and a sophomore to develop my defensive skills while also having like my attacking skills. And so what Memphis did was they turned me into a true 10 again, because that's kind of what I played in, my younger days. And while taking my defensive, what I've learned, and then inputting my same attacking, I think I was able to flourish much more. And I think on a team like Oregon State, I think I'll be able to double what I've done. And so it is difficult, but you have to play both sides of the game. I would say the American Conference is a very physical conference, so that helped. And I think if you can play in the American, you can play in any conference because it is one of the more physically demanding conferences, and you're going to have to learn how to play defense in any position. So I think that'll be really useful for me at the next level. And then obviously under my new team, see what I can get done there to go to the next level. So
Right. And so now, what do you mean by physically demanding? Because I've heard a lot of the conversation around college soccer has been how physically demanding that it is, and going further into this extra layer of the American Athletic Conference, how it being even a step further than that. I mean, tell me about that from your personal experience, having played on two different teams in this conference.
yeah, I would say the American is very, a lot of the guys are over 6 foot on every team. So
Right, right.
it is more gritty, I would say. Whereas you look at the ACC and it's beautiful soccer. It is
Mm.
constant 10 to 20 passes, spells, 5 minutes, the team holds the ball. So it's like there's differences in conference. And I would say the American kind of breaks down as who's stronger, who can win that second ball, who can make that magic in the last, ditches of the game. And I think it's good that I was in this conference to learn that kind of side of soccer, because I think that's important in American soccer, where now I can take my stuff to the West Coast Conference, where I do believe it is a conference mixed with everything. I think there's great soccer. I think there's grittiness as well, but it's like just enough where I could flourish. And so yeah, that's how I see it. So
Very nice.
yeah.
And you talk about making the magic towards the end of some of these matches, and I know you know where I'm going with this too. And we you talked about it a little bit before, but the two matches that we've talked about, FAU and Tulsa. Tulsa being the first AAC game, or the AAC home game, or just AAC game.
That was the first AAC game of the season this
Got
season.
it. So between those two matches, I'll talk a little bit about FAU because I know that was a huge, just with less than 10 minutes left to play, tie 1-1 and FAU, and you're able to bury a shot. I mean, tell me about that game in general, and what that looked like. I know this is a good memory for you.
Yeah, so this game was very important because it was our third to last game of the season.
Mhm.
Charlotte was right there next to us. We were tied for points, and we had to win because if we had tied or lost, then that meant our last game against FIU, we'd have to win. And we actually ended up tying that game. So this was so important because if Charlotte had then won their next game, we wouldn't have gotten the conference at all. So it was just crazy. Like everything was at stake. And so, anyways, it was like nine. The game was crazy. 1-1. They scored first. We can't kind of came back with another goal. Um, and it was just chaos. And I remember the ball kind of dropped to the middle of the field, and their eight got it. I kind of interrupted the play, stole it from him. Our eight drove it up the field, slipped Adam Yusfi in, who passed it to Lucho Galizzi, who was our nine at the time. And it kind of like shot, deflected, and then like lands to my feet. And I'm
Right.
like, this is like the odds, out of everywhere it could go on the field, it just lands right to my feet. And I'm
Right.
like, right. And I'm 1v1 with the goal. You can't like think about this stuff. And so
Mhm.
I see like a guy like right here, like you can like
Mhm.
barely see him. Kind of like if you were like playing in the midfield and you see a through ball like this, like you can only see him like with your peripheral.
Got it.
So I know he's gonna try to block the shot or bite. So then I'm like 1-on-1 and I like fake shot.
Yep.
The goalie goes down. The kid just goes and
Yep.
like slides all the way across. I don't even know where.
It was like a stutter. I saw this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because like if I had shot, it blocked corner. So
Right.
I was like fake shot, Brazil style. He just slides across and then it's just an open goal. And I was like, it was alumni night. It was crazy. It was just insane. And so everyone just knee slides to the corner. All the alumni are there. It was amazing. And so that game kind of led us, into FIU, which then we tied. And so that was just enough to get us the championship, because Charlotte had then lost to FAU the same game. So it gave us the title. And it was unreal.
And so why put off business until the next day when you could take care of it in that day? You know what I mean? I've heard
Exactly.
Coach Dempsey say that over and over again. I love that.
Exactly.
No, but I mean, and I know that corner though too. I mean, I've seen that celebration. That entire corner was filled with Memphis blue. I mean, it was scenes, scenes.
That was awesome.
Um, so now I gotta ask though too. There's still 9 minutes left in that match,
Mhm.
and coming back from all that excitement and having to reel this team back into securing this one goal lead, which is not a it's a tough thing to do because a lot of times teams come out with everything that they can in those final 9 minutes, and you're having to play this tight defense. What were those final minutes like?
Chaos and long. It felt like an eternity. You're just sitting there like you want the game to be over. It's like, but I would say that's the great thing about, my team is we had a great back line, a great goalie, a great midfield, just everything. And everyone was so bought in and like just dying for the win. It was just pure heart. And so everyone just took a defensive role, like played their hearts out. And it became a team win in the end. And it was amazing to see. So, and then once that final whistle blew, it was just everyone drops to the floor dead. It was just crazy. So it was unreal.
Like
Yeah.
and I mean I can't even just because that's also the final part of that season. That's not just oh end of game exhaustion. That is end of season. Holy cow, this looks even better. I mean, when did you realize that this team would not only be able to contend for that regular season championship, being able to be the most successful regular season team, but ultimately going ahead and winning it though too, because again, it wasn't the end of the season, but what were those moments like? What were those little pieces like during these past 3 months?
I mean, it was chaos. This was the first time in 20 years Memphis has won a championship. So we were doing it, yeah, it was insane. And so we were doing it for everyone. I think the whole team was. We were just so bought in. The coaches nailed it into our brains, like we could do it. And to be honest, we actually started the season off 1-4. And
Right.
so I think that's one of the reasons why we didn't make the NCAA tournament as well, is because we had a rough start to the season. And so something clicked. I think it was after the Georgia State game. Um, that was probably one of my better games as well. I think a goal and assist that game, and then
Very
I think I
nice.
got on like the lineup for the kick a ball pod. But
Oh,
uh,
very nice. So we were
after
watching.
that game, another like great team win. But after that game, it turned around, won six. We went 7 games unbeaten, and we're thinking like we have it. Like we can do this. Like we can really do this. And so, and I would also say it was when FIU and Charlotte tied 0-0. And so that's when we're like, okay, we really have this because those were also probably the two top teams in the conference. And
Mhm.
so, because we were projected to get third place, and it went Charlotte, FIU, us. So seeing that those top two teams tied was a huge break for us. And we had beaten Charlotte 1-0. And so we're
Mm.
like, it's everything came down to us and what we did. So it was incredible.
And Charlotte's not a hard team to beat either, though, too. I mean, you look at Ian Pilcher, who just got drafted to San Diego. Daniel Moore is another guy who's built like a pro, another center back. I mean, tell me about trying to form, without getting too much into the strategy, because I don't want to pull that away from you or anyone, make anyone, you know what I mean? I don't want to get too far into that kind of stuff, but um, where was I going with that? Oh, being able to pick apart just this Charlotte team and trying to be able to get ahead with, what I'm sure was a gritty win.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be the toughest game of the season. We had everyone come out. There was packed fans, everything, and that's kind of what drove our Memphis team a little bit. I think is we liked having those fans, and so we didn't want it to disappoint at home. And they were ranked number 9 at the time, so this is a ranked ninth top 10 team in the country, and we did not want to lose. We wanted to show them like who we are,
Right.
and I think what it came down to is how well we did defensively and what we did with our chances. And so we did have a couple of chances where I think we could have went up 1 or 2-0. Obviously, they had a great keeper, made some insane saves. And then obviously our keeper made, great saves as well. And then it was just last 10 minutes we get a good team goal and we just did what we did against FAU. We uh, People may not like it, but we sat in and we played hard and played our hearts out. So it was just insane. That's all we could have done, just
Right.
want it more, I think.
And
So
the other game. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, I finished.
Oh, perfect. Um, but yeah, the other game that I want to talk about though too was the match against Tulsa at the beginning of the year. We mentioned that was a big, a pivotal moment, or maybe not pivotal, but a huge, a I don't know what the word is, a I guess I'm gonna leave it at a big moment. I wish I had another adjective for that, but a big moment would be the Tulsa game though too. What could you tell me about that match?
That game was important because we had just begun our unbeaten streak. And so we beat UAB, I believe. No, we beat no, Tulsa was the first game of the season.
Right.
So winning the first game is going to be everything. Winning the first of anything is going to be everything. And so that game started. We were pressed hot. It was, I think, the first 5 minutes. Logan Longo had he's got a long throw trait, so throws it in, kind of bounces in the box a little bit. I'd say around probably the 15-yard or maybe a little bit right there, and right to me, and then boom, half volley, smack, 1-0, and we're like, oh my god, like we got it, like because
Right.
our problem was when we were 1-4 was we'd get scored on very early in the game, the first 10 minutes. And so one of the things we had to switch as a team was not to get scored on. And so what we started doing is scoring in the first 10 minutes. And it's just, I think that's what kind of flipped the switch for our team as well. And so then I would say 10 minutes later, it's 1-0 and we get a corner. And then, funny enough, how Logan gave me the goal, whips it in, great header, and then boom. And so that's 2-0. And again, I think our team has so much heart and grittiness. We're like, let's keep this lead. Let's not lose it. They did get a goal back in the first half. So second half was just crazy. And so winning away in the first game of the season set us up, I think, very well. And so I think it kind of put Tulsa down a little bit because Tulsa's a great team too, and so they historically they're a great team. And so yeah, it was very important for us. So
And what's been a big advantage, at least to your shot making ability, has been the fact that you're left footed, just purely from the fact that it's not very common, but it's been something that you've been able to utilize as your strength while also with an improving right foot as well, though, too, at least, from what we've been able to see over the past 3 seasons. I mean, tell me about how that difference in the angles that you're able to take purely by your footedness nature has been able to pay off for some sort of, competitive difference or competitive advantage.
Yeah, I would say being left-footed is pretty lucky. I think because there's so little lefties out there, it makes you a little bit more valuable, especially when in the set piece department, because everyone's
Right.
looking for that in swinger or that left-sided free kick. That is kind of an advantage, I would say, being left-footed. But yet again, it nothing's given. You got to practice everything. And so obviously with the gift being left footed, I think is like a great gift. You guys still have to practice and everything and make it to the best that I can be. But I would say, even being in the midfielder and trying to be a 360-degree player, it may throw players off that I can use left foot since everyone's most used to defending players with the right foot.
Right.
Um, I think it helps me with my point of attack and switching the play. I think most right footers like to play to their right side, so more teams may angle that just naturally. So
Definitely.
being left footed, if I'm looking towards the left side of the field, I wouldn't have to hit with the outside of my right foot or come all the way around the ball. It's more just the easy kind of through ball. And so
Got it.
that's kind of what I've kind of tried to shape my game after is Mesut Ozil, if you know who that is. And so
Of course.
that smooth left-footed player kind of who disguises the pass a little bit. And so I think that helps me a lot in the games and stuff. And so, yeah.
And Memphis has certainly seen this though too, of how they've been able to utilize you to the best of your ability. I think this past year was exactly what you needed, just be able to continue your own development. What were those conversations like? If you don't mind me asking, with some of these coaches about, hey, we want to put you in a role that and I'm just speaking out loud when I say this, but we want to put you in this role that it seems like you've definitely been more comfortable playing. We want to utilize your strengths to the best of your ability, and we want to center this attack or this forward facing midfield attack around your ability.
The conversations were good. I think, Coach Richard Mulrooney and Tony McManus and Kevin Teller, they're great coaches. They knew exactly what to do with me. They did put me in spots where they kept me away from the sidelines a little bit and kept me very central. And that helps as like a 10. And so I was able to, whenever I could, get a line broken towards me where where I'm facing the field on my left foot and getting in those final thirds and breaking the lines and getting the ball out wide. And then once it's out wide, they would tell me, crash the box. And so a few goals did come from crashing the box. And so those were the conversations I was having with them, and it helped. And I scored goals and got assists. And so, I have to thank them for that. And I think that was very smart of them on their part. And so, but the conversations were good, and they just wanted the best for me. And so I'm forever thankful for that. So yeah.
Phenomenal. And so of course the magnum opus, I imagine really just being able to have the recognition for this hard work of your ability at Memphis, what you've been able to put out and output, and then all the on-field work. But winning co-midfielder of the year, I'm sure had to have been a great feeling. Tell me about how you first came to realize if there's a nomination process, how your name ended up getting thrown out there, and then ultimately how you got notified of the award, though, too. I'm sure it has to be a great moment for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was something that it was on my vision board, something I've wanted, I really try to work for. But it's kind of started after, preseason. I
Mhm.
was doing really well. I was coming off of 3 goals and 2 assists right before Tulsa, and I noticed I was like, I got a shot here. If I just keep going, I'll, have some accolades. And so that kind of drove me seeing the American like kind of post that, and then I was now on the board and I was there for like people to see. And I think that's what drove me because I couldn't stop there. I had to keep going, had to keep improving, doing better. And so kind of throughout the season I would constantly check, the stats, who I'm competing against, what I need to do, all that stuff, because that it came to that where I was like, I want it now. Like I had it, there was a chance I could get it, and now I wanted it. And first, I just wanted the first team all conference. I wanted to be like one of the best players in the conference. And so it was towards the end of the season where I started, now I want the midfielder of the year, or try to get it. And so I just try to play to the best of my ability. Obviously, my team was there to help me all the way through. And so, I was, waiting when the season ended. I was waiting kind of for all those things to come out. I saw like the other conferences. And so I think I went to go like play some pickup or something. I don't know what I was doing. And I go and it's like, check my phone and like I had like all these like alerts and I'm like, oh my God. And I just go look and it was like midfielder of the year, all that stuff, and first team all, and I was like insane.
And first team. You got that too.
Yeah, and so I called my parents, everything. I was like, look at the, and I was just so happy and so thankful for everyone who's like done stuff for me and helped me get to where I am. And so, yeah, but it was a major accomplishment I'll remember for the rest of my life. And so, yeah, it was incredible.
And the reality though too, I mean, you being able to look at, just understanding, okay, where is everyone else at in this race? And I want to make sure not only am I producing for this award, but also continue the fact that you being in the running for this kind of award means that you're having that impact for that team. And I think that's what you described as a perfect example of just that healthy competition of wanting to be driven, wanting to continue to get, you know, further and further and to keep putting your name out there because the reality is that these awards do end up mattering in terms of just the exposure for these MLS clubs, USL clubs, and just professional ranks. I mean, people are going to look at, okay, well, you know, uh, you know, ultimately the move going to Oregon State. But if this was, the last year or for whatever else, this will always be with you. But seeing, hey, look, this is a younger kid. This is a junior in college, and he ended up being the best or tied for the best midfielder in the entire conference. I mean, that's definitely something to be said for.
It was awesome. It was incredible. So it's
And looking back at this part of your journey, at least up to this point, I mean, a West Coast kid, really, and this was something that admittedly that we talked a little bit about before, but just to bring this conversation back to light, the West Coast kid who, you know, it seemed like it may not have worked out because of things that were completely out of your control. And, having this journey, one last year of the college eligibility, you've got the spring season that I'm guessing you're joining Oregon State for spring season
yeah.
and then one last final fall push to be able to make that move further. Can you even put into words the kind of journey that you've been on, at least over these past few years? I mean, what this has really even felt like for you? I mean, I'm really only getting a glimpse of it, but for whatever else it's worth, what else do you think really would allow me to see more of the Lleyton that is not on the pitch?
What do you mean? You mean like rephrase, like what do you mean?
Yeah, no, no problem. Really just like what with these nights sometimes where sometimes your thoughts can get away from you and you're trying to just keep yourself centered how like with how far that you've come what continues to drive you further and just block out those thoughts of doubt if they come.
I see it, my dad told me and like how we see it in this family, it's like when we call it like gladiator school. It's like if you've seen the movie Gladiator, like
Yeah.
how Maximus has started from the bottom of everything, where like he had nothing. And so he had to go through these different arenas to make it to Rome and to fight in that Colosseum. And so it's like that's how I kind of see it. And I have to keep going and keep improving. And so, when I go to sleep, all I'm thinking about is I've got to get better. I've got to like make it. Like that's all I'm thinking about is like what can I do to like make it to the next level? And so what can I do to stay in like the Roman Colosseum? I've done like all this work and I have so much more to prove, I think, and really take it to the next level, which I believe I can do. And so that's just all I'm thinking about now. It's like school's there, but it's like soccer. It's I love it. I live, die, eat, breathe it. So it's like all I'm thinking about is soccer and what I can do to be better, how I can be better, and just go to the next level. That's how I see it, and it's gladiator school. Everyone's fighting for something. Everyone's fighting for positions. There's nothing given to you. Everything has to be earned, and so you get knocked off and you're back all the way down. So you just have to keep going. You can't stop. So.
And so how do you leave the room open just for I mean just letting your mind wander about certain things. I mean, and just understanding, okay, well, you know, look, I mean, the reality is every day is another opportunity to continue to get better. And every day that you let go past, that's a chance for someone else to take that leap ahead of you. I mean, grappling with that thought, I gotta imagine is something that's difficult sometimes, but you know, with the same thought process that you've talked about, I got him that it just is something that continues to drive you.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like having brothers, that helps as well. We drive each other, but it, you have to just go do it. Like, because someone else is definitely doing it. And so if that doesn't drive you, I don't know what will. And so me doing like my run, knowing like some kid in the West Coast Conference is doing it, some kid in the Americans doing it, you know. So if I can do it more than them, I'll be better. And so it's like that's what drives me. And it's a there's a blueprint there. And if you just go do it rather than kind of like sitting down, because there's plenty of time for that. There's so much time for free time, and especially in college. Obviously, you do your homework and stuff, but there's so
Mhm.
much time, yet there's so little time, if that makes sense. Like
Of
I've
course.
got 1 year left basically of eligibility, and it just goes like that. And so it's how fast you can improve and get to the next level. And it's scary to think about, but it's also a beautiful thing, you know, because you could see how fast things change. I was, you know, no, I don't want to dog on like Temple, but we were a last place team, and then like 1 year later, I'm the conference champion. It changes like that. And so it's like it's what you can do, and it's just how you're gonna do it and how bad you want it. And so that's how I think, that's how I see things. And so yeah.
The reality is that you don't feel any different, but there's still so much of this growth that you've undergone, and that's why it's so important to just keep going after it day over day because you don't see the results until you look back on a year or two and see how far you've come.
Exactly. Exactly. That's right.
Um, so now, Leighton, I mean, I've got all my questions that I've really got, you know, asked of you. I mean, I think we've gone a lot into your play style though too, but I actually just with one final thought on that, you've talked about your free kicks ability to be able to really utilize the opposing way that you're able to make the ball move because of that left foot move. But with the changing environment in Oregon State, how do you keep yourself centered and understand, okay, well, it's a new environment, but there's not much that you really need to change. There's a reason that they've recruited you back to the West Coast for a reason, pulled you out of the American Athletic Conference. Tell me about that.
Well, okay, I'll tell you one thing. I've lived in, this will be my seventh place living. So like adaptability is like, I think, a strong suit for me. Obviously being this will be my third school. So I know what to do. I understand it. I've, you know, been through it. You know, I've started in Philadelphia, went to Tennessee, and now I'll be in Oregon. So it's like, and then I
Right.
played in Florida, Spain, and California and Arizona. So it's like
Hmm.
I've seen it all. I know what players are like. I've watched tons of soccer. I keep track of all the conferences, and my goal is just to stay focused and just keep training and running and working, and because that's all I can do. And so obviously coming into a new team, yeah, I've watched tons of film on them. I understand their play style. I really believe it suits me. Great coaching staff, and so I think that's going to help me a lot, you know, making the transition over there. And so I think that'll actually be the easiest transition that I've had rather than to Temple or to Memphis. And so I'm pretty confident, and I believe it's going to be amazing. And I'm just really excited.
Well, you know what? I'm excited for you, brother. I mean, Leighton, it's been a pleasure to be able to talk with you again. I've said this time and time again as, just being on the Zoom call, but it's been a pleasure to be able to jog back some of this experience between your college career, just getting to know you as a person. Again, I'm all out of my questions, but if there's anything else that you want to put out there to anyone who might be watching this, I'd love to give you the space for it now.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say any kid who's watching this, underclassmen, upperclassmen, just don't stop. Just keep going. Everything all works out in the end. You know, the universe has something for everyone. God does as well. So it's like, just keep going. That's all I have to say. And even when it seems like the hardest of times and you're low, it's like it can only go up. So that's all I can say. And if you just keep going and keep believing in yourself, and it's gonna work out. So that's all I have to say.
Love it, Leighton. Hey, you've got a supporter in me and kick a ball for the rest of the way. It's been a pleasure again, and I'm wishing you nothing but the best. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate this a lot.
Of course.
Awesome. Thank you.